All right, assisted living fans, hope everybody's doing well. We are talking season 2, episode 5, entitled Bait and Snitch. We have the third new resident of the assisted living facility, and this was a pretty good episode. I feel like, again, the episode definitely did a good deal with character utilization. I mean, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I really feel like I'm just saying the same thing every week, but I can't help it because the show is that good. Now, would I give this episode a 10 out of 10 like I did for the last two? Not really. I'm thinking of giving this one a solid 7 because it was a pretty decent episode. I don't really have that much to complain about. It just, I feel like a main positive thing is how well that the new cast meshes together, from Anastasia to Reggie to Vinny to Brown. I feel like the characters are pretty consistent, and even though we don't know exactly how much time passes episode to episode, you get an idea that these characters are really getting along. Sure, they might butt heads here and there, but for the most part, they work well off of each other. And I think that's what's helping this season stand out above season 1 because we have new characters on the show. So that means we get new dynamics and relationships between character A and character C, for example. So we got the new character Effie. I believe it's the short way of pronouncing the name because trust and believe I would have been like Mr. Brown, not knowing what the hell to say for the full name of the character. So Cora's actually amused by his stories and whatnot, and he goes in there and meets Vinny and Mr. Brown, and apparently he's come up with like 20 different identities to adjust to the country. And if there was one word to, or I guess you could say one moral lesson to sum up the episode, it's about avoiding stereotypes, and that's the fact that you really don't get to know someone if you just base who they are off of what you assume just by spending not even 2 minutes alone with them. So the entire episode is full of the many antics of Brown, Vinny kind of spreading across. That's the crazy part. As the episode goes on, at first it's just Brown and Vinny who are suspicious of the situation. I mean, Cora and Reggie gave Effie a stamp of approval. But as the episode progresses, slowly but surely, all the characters begin to suspect foul play, and they get in on the investigation into who he really is. So let's talk about the B plot, because it only takes up so much time of the episode. But remember what I said about season 1. Again, I don't know who the people working on the show. I mean, technically I do because it's available online to see who writes and directs, but I really feel like they listened to what I was saying about giving like Philip something to do. And I remember in season 1, I'm like, he's kind of just there. It's no shade towards the actor. He's doing his job. But what's the point of having Philip around if all we're doing is having him acknowledge the fact that he's not wanted in the same room whenever Sandra needs a good talking to? Philip's story is the fact that there's a bully named Smallpox, and apparently he doesn't even go to their school, but he just comes around and uses him as a punching bag. And he doesn't want to tell his Smallpox from the east side, and he doesn't want to tell his dad about it. So he tells Vinny and Mr. Brown, but they agree not to tell Jeremy. And Sandra actually overhears Philip looking at his phone. I think he's looking at tips on how to deal with a bully, from talking to them to avoiding conflict to seeing if there's anything to do aside from getting into ye old fisticuffs. And this was a pretty good scene for her as a sister because she isn't in like a major role for the episode, but the fact that we get the siblings not bickering with each other, pretty much, dealing with a situation, I really like that. So the next scene we see Philip involved in is Vinny and Mr. Brown teaching him self-defense. And as a person who considers myself somewhat of a sock connoisseur, Mr. Brown, I believe he was wearing like bacon and egg socks, kind of like I think there was a couple episodes ago I said, I know I got that pair. I know for a fact I got that same pair of socks, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, they got the gong and everything, like they're about to teach him martial arts. And then Jeremy comes in and he talks with Philip. And I really like this moment. It was short, sweet, and to the point. Philip didn't tell his dad about his bully because of the fact that Jeremy didn't exactly put up the best example, considering the fact that he whopped the sheriff upside the head. So it's like Philip kind of figured that if I told my dad about this situation, he might tell me to get physical with him, as opposed to, as Jeremy said, Dumb and Dumber. It was actually a good scene. So Jeremy's like, hey, we'll outsmart him. And basically, if I'm not mistaken, Philip said that, yeah, his dad won't do anything about it because his dad's in jail for robbing a bank and stealing somebody's fake arm. So he's like, yeah, let's try this another way. So Jeremy calls, I believe, like a school administrator, because that makes the most sense, because there's a person who doesn't even go to this school who's coming over to harass my son. So we better take care of that. So again, it was a situation that was kind of settled in the background, but it didn't overstay its welcome. And as I said before, it gave the character of Philip something to deal with. I want to be completely honest. When I first heard about the bullying situation, and when Philip was like, this person's really short, was I the only one thinking, was it actually a female bully? And then it turned out this character has a crush on Philip, hence why she's bullying him. Well, no, it was actually just a dude from across town. All right, so let's get to the main story. And the reason I kind of decided that over the past few weeks, looking at House of Pain and Assisted Living, both shows kind of have a thing where there's a main story, but then there's also a B story. So I kind of separate the episode into that, where I'll focus part of the review talking about one specific storyline, and then the other part of the review talking about the second storyline. To me, that kind of makes the most sense. So, like I said before, the main storyline being that FA has come to the facility, and based on the news report of somebody going around with a fake accent, pretending to be somebody else, basically fake identities and whatnot, you know, that kind of makes the everybody in the facility a bit paranoid. So it was somebody who matches FA's description. So Vinny and Mr. Brown get even more suspicious of him. Reggie and Jeremy don't think anything bad of him at all. Anastasia loves his stories. I think Reggie tries to break it down to like, okay, well, there are certain signs that will tell whether or not somebody is putting on a facade. They're coming up with a fake identity. They want to acclimate themselves into a new group of people, like to tell stories to make people laugh and, you know, get to know them more. And Anastasia is just eating it up. Leah calls, basically Leah's working on a background check, and they have never heard of FA. And apparently he wants to pay for a full year in advance. You know, this would be a great hideaway. And it's like, hideaway? So Leah actually tests FA. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just felt like Leah was giving him a DUI exam. And apparently he's clean no matter what they looked up and what they found. FA's past is clean as a whistle. And the men actually try to interrogate him. You know, Reggie puts on, like certain African attire, like a robe. Mr. Brown puts on a hat. It's like, what tribe are you from? A tribe called Quest. Basically to test the knowledge of FA in regards to, like if he knows about certain African culture. And I mean, Anastasia takes it to the next level. She puts on a full guard because she said, I used to play Cleopatra. And she makes, a bunch of food that FA would know if he's from the culture. And I mean, like they're pulling out all the stops. And this really gave this episode a Meet the Browns feel. And I like that. And they take it to the next level of, okay, you know what? I'll take the glass with the drink I gave him, because, the spit DNA, we can use that to get a background check on him. So she does just that. Then a new news report comes out saying that $100 million for this man if they catch him, because there was a mistaken identity. Because apparently this is a king worth a lot of money. Basically gave me Coming to America vibes. All right, so from there, we get to the end of the episode, and FA's identity is confirmed. He is who he says he is. He walks in just as Anastasia comes in with the DNA test, and is like, what's all this? And apparently he works at like a car dealership or something. And, he just kind of sits down there by like, look, you know what? I won't leave, but just know that it's important not to let stereotypes cloud your judgment. Don't believe everything you hear. Learn from the source themselves. And that's pretty much it. We got a new member of the assisted living facility. We got a good story to have everybody involved. Sure, this episode was more on the goofy side, even though probably not to the extent of episode 1 with Officer Blue Balls, but this was pretty good for what it was. I think that I would probably say that Anastasia had the best new character introduction, followed by Reggie, and Effie comes in last. Not to say it was bad, but if I were to rank the new character introductions, that's how I would rank it as. And I can't wait till the next episode to see, how he interacts with all the cast now that he's no longer treated like a suspicious person. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Decent episode. I mean, heck, if I'm not mistaken, I've given 7s across the board for House of Pain and the Haves and Have-Nots and Assisted Living. So let's see if Sisters tonight can break the mold. We shall find out soon enough. And as always, if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App, or at the very least, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next episode.